Hey guys, and welcome back to The Mess, i.e. Jake, also known as Planque for Life. I've been putting off this video for a while because I don't know where to start. I literally don't know where to start. But essentially this video is going to be breaking down how I turned my IKEA Milsbo cabinet into a full-blown terrarium. I've been wanting to do this for a while because I had a lot of smaller plants, things I was growing out in my grow tent, things that I wanted to display, but also like I had way too many plants in my main space. It was getting a little bit overwhelming, and I'm like, you know what, life would just be so much easier if I could just plant all these plants into one giant pot and water them all the same. But I guess I can't do that. Well, turns out I can. And this right here is the solution. I have about 40 or so plants from my collection in here, and I will be doing a full-blown tour of this in part 2. So this is part 1. This video I am going to be talking just about how I put this together, how I prepped the cabinet, the materials I use, the supplies that I use, and the things that you're going to need, the things that I learned along the way, things I would recommend, things that I would not recommend, and all that other stuff, if you would like to do this. Also, I made a terrarium, not a paludarium. So for certain things, this may or may not apply to paludariums. Essentially, there is no water effect, guys, although I am kind of going back and forth like, do I want to add like a little mister? Because I have a terrarium behind me, right? Yeah, that one right there, that has one of those little like witch cauldron misters, like for Halloween and stuff. And it looks like a little waterfall because the mist falls down like a little crack in the rocks there. So I was thinking maybe I could do something up there or something. I don't know. I'd have to move stuff around. So I'm going to put that off because it took a long time to get to this stage. So I want to just enjoy it and let everything acclimate and let me just learn about this new setup and how to care for it, you know, working out all the kinks, you know what I'm saying? All right, so I have my phone with all of my notes, and I'm gonna be reading through all of these, so apologies for that. But essentially, there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about that I'm just not gonna remember without looking at my notes. All right, here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is list all the things that you are going to need for this project. The things that you will need are 1 cabinet, a box of latex gloves, 1 caulking gun, 5 to 8 tubes of silicone. And as a note, use aquarium safe silicone if you're making a paludarium or a vivarium where you have water and little critters in there and animals and things like that. So again, I'm just making a terrarium, but make sure you use aquarium safe silicone because silicone may or may not change the pH of the water. You know, it may have chemicals that are harmful to certain animals. I have no idea. So you'll have to do some more research on that if you're going the vivarium paludarium route. 10 to 15 cans of spray foam. Honestly, I think there's no way around it. I tried to avoid the spray foam, but to be honest, it really wasn't that bad. But we'll get to that in a bit. 1 large bag of peat moss, 1 large paintbrush, 1 box cutter or small knife, porous rocks or LECA for the false bottom, and a well-draining medium for the base, which would be the substrate down here. An example for that would be soil mixed with perlite and orchid bark mix, something that's very free draining and very aerated. Spray paint, either white spray paint, black spray paint, whatever spray paint you want, whatever color you want for the sides of the cabinet to hide the expanding foam on the sides. Oh, and lastly, weather stripping. Did you get all that? All right, guys, now this is the preliminary step 1. This is the before you start step 1. And that is to draw out what you want the terrarium to look like. What plants that you want in it, where do you want them, consider how they will grow over time. Will they bush out? Will they climb? How much light are they going to require to thrive? And be sure not to use plants that will grow too quickly and outgrow the terrarium. Consider this, people, you are creating a delicate balance of life. in this thing. So if you look at my little notebook here, I will show you some of the sketches that I made. This is how I envisioned the cabinet, or one of the ways I envisioned the cabinet. So I have all plants that were already in my collection that I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this here, I'm gonna put that there, I'm gonna put this here because it's gonna have space to crawl up this way, I'm gonna put this here because it's not gonna grow super fast and it can stay in this area for a very long time. I won't have to cut it back or anything. And then if we keep going, I then wrote down, okay, based on the light that each plant needs, high light, medium light, low light. So I divided all the plants up by how much light they will need. I wrote down all of the plants that I was considering. I continued making more sketches. This was when I was considering making some kind of like water effect, which I still might do. Not water, like a misting waterfall. Not like a true water effect, but just like a little misting thing. And yeah, just like certain plants I'm drawing out based on how they would grow. I'm creating little 3D drawings of kind of how it would look. This is how I originally was going to do it. I was going to make the glass on the sides not have anything on it, as you can see, because I wanted to be able to view it from the side, because my desk is actually right over here. But I decided, you know what, it can't get to its full potential if I don't do it like on all three sides. You know what I'm saying? It was just like a gut feeling, so. And then lastly, I made sure I had all the right pot sizes for all the plants that I was putting in. And if you see, these are all of the areas that more or less where I was going to put certain pots into the hardscape itself. Because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to plant some plants in here, but then I also wanted to have some areas where I could take a plant that's already potted and just put it right in there, so that maybe if I want to switch it out with something, or maybe if it gets too big or something and I want to take it out without disturbing the roots too much. Because let me tell you guys, after only having this for a few weeks, things are already starting to cling onto the hardscape, which is pretty nuts. Even things that are potted, you know what I'm saying? But at the very least, it still has that root system inside of its vessel, so that I could take that out if it got too big. And we'll get to some of those plants in part 2 when I do the full tour. All right, now that we got all of that out of the way, let's get to the actual steps. And I'm actually going to do something a little bit differently. I'm going to do, instead of step by step, I'm gonna do day by day, so you get a sense of just about how long and how much time it will take to create something like this. Because it can feel overwhelming before you do it, and maybe even as you're doing it, but then when it's all said and done, you might be like, oh, you know what, that wasn't quite as I thought it was gonna be. So here we go. Day 1, waterproof your cabinet by using silicone along all of the corners, all of the cracks and crevices and all that stuff. This is what I use. This is what I recommend, this particular brand. Now this was about $9 or $10 from Home Depot, so the price can add up. I saw one that was like $3 something or $4 or something, and I bought quite a few of those. But I didn't read the fine print that the cheaper one takes like 1 to 2 weeks to fully cure. Now, if you're on a budget and you don't mind dragging this out for a few weeks longer, then by all means go for it, because I use this and the other stuff in here and they're both just fine. The problem is you can't plant things in here until the silicone has fully cured and dried. Because while it's still drying and giving off those really powerful silicone fumes that you want to be careful, you might want to wear a mask while you're using this, with your caulking gun, by the way. You have to wait until the silicone fully cures and dries, and it's not giving off that really strong aroma that it gives off. That's when you know it's gonna be dry and ready to go. But this one cures in 24 hours. So I recommend just using this stuff, guys. Like I said, unless you want to save a few bucks and drag it out for a few more weeks, then that's totally your call. But again, you can't plant anything in here until the silicone is fully dried. So, assuming that you're going to use the 24-hour one, let's move on. The next thing you're going to do is create some type of barrier for the substrate at the bottom. Now, most people, especially when it comes to these IKEA cabinets, they will take one of the glass shelves and just stick it on the bottom. because it fits perfectly. And then what you'll do is you'll silicone it to the sides. Now, you can do that. That's perfectly fine. I have a friend who's also making one of these cabinets who is also doing that. But essentially, guys, I didn't want there to be like a piece of glass down there. I just wasn't feeling it. I kind of wanted my plans without any obstructions. So what I did was I took actually some styrofoam. Was it styrofoam? It was like these foam blocks that I got off Amazon that I used for some other project. I forget what it was. And I used that to create a barrier at the bottom. I'll put in some B-roll to kind of show you guys. But I just kind of stuck that in. I siliconed it, make sure it was nice and watertight. And now you're ready to go. You have a little bowl, if you will, for the false bottom and the substrate. And that's it for day one, guys. You're done with day one. Ain't that great? Now we go to sleep and we wake up, we move on to day two. This is the intimidating part because you're gonna probably need somebody to help you do this. You can do it by yourself, but just like for emotional support because it's a little bit daunting. This was another thing that I was really nervous about because I was like, oh my God. Because guys, listen, I've seen the videos where these cabinets like have exploded on people because the glass, there's a reason these cabinets are cheap. Let's just be real, guys, okay? You know, so I have that in the back of my mind. So, knock on wood, nobody's cabinet explodes. And for those of you who are like, wait, Jake, what are you talking about? What do you mean cabinet explode? Just Google search it and you'll see the videos. It's a little bit distressing, but it's what it is. Hopefully IKEA has seen that and has fixed it. I know the price for these went up, so maybe they enhanced the glass or something. Let's just pray that they did. So anyway, ideally with someone's help, you're going to very slowly, very gently take this cabinet and you're going to lay it down on its back. Before you lay it down though, detach the doors because the last thing you want is for the doors to like fling open or to break as, you know what I'm saying? You want to take these doors, you want to remove them before you take the cabinet and lay it down. It's just gonna make your life a lot easier, guys. Just take the doors off. Now here's where the spray foam is gonna come into play, guys, because that is what is going to create your hardscape. The hardscape is essentially the thing that makes it look like rocks and all that stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to spray the foam. And like I said, you're going to use about 10 to 15 cans. You know, you're going to use a lot of it. This is also the point where you're going to, if you want to, insert tree branches, cork, anything like that. I got some really nice wood from Central Park. You can kind of see here. I also have some woods and branches and sticks down in there, but there's so many leaves and so much foliage you can't even see it. So, you know, it's what it is, guys. It's a whole jungle in here. What I did, guys, was that I treated the wood. I put it in my bathtub. I filled the bathtub with water so that they were fully submerged, and then I just dumped a whole bunch of bleach into it. What you want to do is you want to kill any bacteria that's on it or any bugs that might be inside of it, all that stuff. You want to flip it to make sure that all parts of the wood are in the water bleach concoction. And I also cleaned my tub in the meantime, so you know what I'm saying? It worked out. It was a win-win. So you want to soak it for at least 30 minutes or so. I soaked it for about 30 minutes to an hour. I don't remember exactly how long. And then you're going to wrap in paper towels to allow them to dry. Ideally, if you can't, let them dry out in the sun or just have them dry in like a garage or just, you know, an area of your home that's dry. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Oh, and this is also the part when you're doing the foam. This is also going to be the part where you take your pots, which essentially, oh, do I have a pot? Wait, where's that pot? Oh, there's a pot. These kind of pots, guys. Or really any pots, any to-go containers, just poke some holes in so that there's some drainage or whatever. You're just gonna take these pots and you're going to place them based on the drawing that you made. Remember you made the drawing? Remember I told you to make the drawing beforehand so you know exactly what you're doing, what you're gonna plant in there, how you're gonna plant it, all that good stuff. And you're just going to make sure that they're all in their proper place. And that's it for day 2, guys. All you gotta do is just wait for that foam to dry. It takes, I think, less than a day to dry, but you know, give it 24 hours just to be safe. We're on to day 3, guys, and it's probably going to be the most tedious day because you're going to have to carve out all of that expandable foam. Because when it dries with a smooth surface. And we need it to have a rough surface, a porous surface, so that we can put silicone on top and then apply the peat moss. Because the peat moss, when you spray it down, the peat moss is going to retain moisture, and that is going to make it suitable to plant things onto the hardscape, like moss, like, you know, little cuttings that you have, little plants here and there, things that are going to climb up. You want them to find that moisture. So it needs the peat moss to be able to attach to the hardscape. And you need to be able to carve out all of that smooth surface of the expandable foam. This is a great time to put on a podcast, you know, put on a playlist, maybe get like a friend or two to help, or a family member, because again, this is where the knife comes in. When I have the list of all the things you need, you just need to like, it's very tedious, guys. Depending on how big your cabinet is, because mine's pretty big, yeah, it takes a long time. But you don't want to rush this. You want to carve it out so that it looks like natural rock. It looks like something that could be in nature. It looks aesthetically pleasing to you, but also you want it to be functional for the peat moss when you try to apply that. And I left that as just a standalone thing for day 3 because when I was finished with that, I was so tired. My arms were tired, you know, carving it. I was switching the arm because, you know, one arm was just dangling after working for like 2-3 hours, but I got buff over the weekend doing that. Sorry, anyway, I didn't mean to knock you out with my biceps. Anyway, okay, so what is next? So yeah, that is just day 4, guys. So you're going to rest after you do all that and then come back for day 5. So day 5, you are going to, again, very carefully, very gently, stand the cabinet upright. Now, you are going to continue peat moss applications as needed because when you stand it up, a lot of the peat moss is going to come falling down because there's going to be certain areas that you didn't get or didn't get enough. And that's okay, guys, but just be prepared when you lift it up. Peat moss is going to come falling down, and this is where the paintbrush comes into effect because you want to brush off all the loose peat moss. You don't want any, you know, like peat moss to be, every time you open and close the cabinet, peat moss will come flying out into your face. You don't want that. So you want to brush off all the loose peat moss and then just keep reapplying peat moss. So yeah, these are just the fine touches for the peat moss. Again, you're brushing away in the little cracks and the little, you know, nooks and crannies and all that stuff. You're getting out all of the loose peat moss. And any bare spots where the foam hardscape is shown, that's not really going to retain any moisture for things to climb up onto it. So you want to apply peat moss to every single square inch. Again, it's another tedious day, but it's necessary. Once you're all done with that, guys, reinstall the doors. You can put the cabinet back together in its full form. And also, when you put the doors back in, make sure everything closes properly. If there was any foam that expanded out too much or anything like that, any silicone that, you know, that is keeping it from closing all the way, make sure you use the knife and you take that stuff away because you want to make sure that the cabinet fully closes. Now we're getting to the spray paint part. So you're going to want to spray paint the side glass panels on the outside to cover the back of the foam hardscape. So essentially on the sides where there's glass, you can't see it from this angle, but there's foam on this side, foam on that side, and from the sides it looks pretty unattractive. So you're going to want to use some spray paint in order to disguise that and give it a nice clean look. I'm using white spray paint. If you have a black cabinet, use black spray paint or whatever color you want to use. And you're just going to use some painting tape, that blue tape. You know that paint I'm talking about. Anyway, so you're going to use that kind of tape, and you're going to spray it. Again, spray it in a ventilated area if you can. Make sure that you have a mask on so you're not inhaling anything that makes you like lightheaded or anything. And you're just going to spray it, and spray it kind of far away because if you spray it too close, the paint will start to drip, and I actually made that mistake and I almost effed up the entire thing. So yeah, spray it pretty far away and you know, keep it moving. Don't like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's when the paint will accumulate and then start dripping. You want to just and do a few coats so that it looks perfect. You know what I'm saying? I think we're getting to the fun stuff, guys. Hold on, what do we have next? Oh yeah, protect your floors too. Lay some newspaper down, protect your floors, guys. Okay, now we're on to wait. Yes, guys, now we're on to day 6. We're on day, wait, hold on, 5, 6 people, day 6. This is the fun day because this is where we're going to plant our plants, right? Do I have it? Yeah, we are. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you are going to take some weather stripping, and I will list the weather stripping that I use, but you're gonna use weather stripping and make sure that all of the areas along the tops, the sides, when you close the cabinet, you wanna make sure any little areas where air can escape, air can come in and out, you wanna close that off to create a nice tight seal, because that is what is going to keep this from drying out and essentially you having to water it every single day. We don't want that, guys. We want to water this like once or twice a week at most. We want it to be essentially self-caring, self-caring for, self-caration. Once that is done, guys, you're going to take your sprayer and you're gonna spray down. Oh, hold on, let me show you. You're gonna take your sprayer. Woohoo! So you're going to spray the whole thing. Again, this is when you have just the peat moss in it. You want to moisturize all of that peat moss. No, not moisturize. You want to hydrate all that peat moss. You feel me? Because now we're going to start planting some plants, people. I told you the fun part was coming. I think the best way to approach this is to plant your smaller plants and your filler plants first. So that would include moss. You know, so if you have moss that you want to add, smaller plants, you want to put those in first, cuttings that you want to mount onto the rockwork or something. And then after that, you would go in and add in your larger plants that are kind of going to stick out a little bit. Their foliage is going to, you know, you don't want to put these in first because then when you try to get in there to plant the moss and other things, it just gets all cumbersome. So yes, guys, start with the smaller plants and the filler plants first, and then work your way up in size. And then the last day, guys, day 7, which it's actually day 7 and beyond, because that is maintenance time. What you're going to do is you're going to keep a close eye on your new terrarium. You're going to want to check for fungal outbreaks, which, by the way, love to set up shop on wood. They're just really attracted to wood, guys. So if you have wood in here, even wood that's treated, you're going to want to take some Fizan, like a little paper towel with some Fizan. You're going to want to wipe away any little fungal outbreaks that you see on here or on the moss. If there's any plants that get fungal outbreaks, you're going to want to take those out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. You're just spending the next couple of weeks eyeing your terrarium and just maintaining it and just making sure that everything is acclimating properly. Take things out if they're not doing well, keep things in if they are doing well. And also, you're gonna wanna keep a humidity reader in there, because when the cabinet is closed, it's going to tell you how the humidity fluctuates. And I actually find that when the light is on, the humidity actually drops about 15%, but then at night it goes back up. So it goes down to like 85, 86% humidity, but then at night when the light is off, it goes up to like 99 or like 100%, which is interesting. Huh, who knew? So yeah, I thought that throughout the day it was losing humidity, but turns out it just goes right back up at night. So yeah, you don't have to water this every single day. As long as it's properly weather sealed and all that stuff, you know, with the weather stripping. You know what I'm talking about, the weather stripping? Anyway. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. The last thing, you're like, wait a minute, Jake. What about grow lights and fans? You want your grow lights and your fans to be water resistant at the very least. or waterproof if you can find it. Now, the particular grow light that I'm using, this is a waterproof light, which is really important because it's a very powerful grow light, and I knew it was going to get wet like all the time, and you don't want it to be a fire hazard, guys. That's really, really important. So you wanna find a grow light that is waterproof, because a light, you know, it can short out, it can spark or whatever. You know, you wanna be on the safe side, guys. The fans, I have not been able to find a fan that was waterproof, that was the right size, but if you can find one, that's a plus. I found one that, well, it didn't say they were waterproof or water resistant. I have had great success with this particular brand, and I know somebody else who also uses these in her terrarium, and they've worked just well for her too. They're not loud, they're very, very soft. And am I missing anything? But yeah, I think that's it, guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. Next week will be the tour, the grand tour of all the plants that I have growing in here. I have about 40-ish plants in here, somewhere around that, which is amazing because I put all my plants in here and then suddenly I'm looking around like, where's my entire plant collection? I'm like, oh, it's like all in here now, which is great because it's honestly been a game changer, guys. So yeah, the next video will be an entire tour. And then after that, it'll probably be like a 6 to 8 week update, because at that point it will have been probably almost 2 months since I first started, because as of recording this, it's been a few weeks already. So maybe like the part 3 video will be like maintenance, like how I maintain it. And then maybe part 4 will be like a 6 to 8 week update or something, and how everything's growing and what I've learned along the way. What do you guys think? What else would you like to see with this cabinet? Let me know. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next week, guys. Hope you enjoyed the hot mess. Ooh, my hair's a little bit greasy because when I start talking, I just start talking and talking and talking. I can't stop talking, and I get a little bit sweaty. So, but also these grow lights are pretty hot behind me. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and also, where is he? What? Hold on, wait a minute. Wait, where is my mascot? Oh, there you are, the mascot. I haven't given him a name, guys. He's like a snake plant, which are Dracaenas, so should I call him like Dressy? Dracaena? Cena? Cena? I mean, some people call him Sansevieria. Is he like Sandy? What should I call our mascot, guys? This is our little mascot. Help me figure out a name for this guy. What should we name our mascot? Because he's at the end of all my videos. I don't name my plants, and he was no exception. But yeah, what should I name this guy? Leave your suggestions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Ooh.